Welcome to this video. We are covering today the Events API from the new Alfresco out-of-process SDK released with ACS 7.1. While in process, SDK provides Maven archetypes to build AMP or JAR add-ons to be deployed within Alfresco repository and Alfresco server applications. Out-of-process SDK provides client applications to interact with the Alfresco platform via the public REST API and consuming messages from ActiveMQ. Note that when using the out-of-process SDK, no modification or addition is required to be deployed within the Alfresco Word files. We are talking today about the events client provided by the out-of-process SDK for the Alfresco ActiveMQ service. So let's start reviewing some details related to the Alfresco events model. Alfresco event model is based on the Cloud Events specification that describes event data in common formats to provide interoperability across platforms. The content services event payload consists of two parts: the Cloud Event attributes and the Content Services Event attributes. While Cloud Event attributes include the standard properties from the specification, Content Services attributes are including Alfresco specific properties in the data attribute of the Cloud Event structure, like the ID of the node, the type, the name, and some other useful information. The type of the event identifies the action that is generating the event in the repository. Node created, updated and deleted, child association created and deleted, peer association created and deleted, and permission update that is only available when using ACS Enterprise version. Before moving on with the details of those types, let's review some properties available in Alfresco repository for filtering purposes. Node types asset a list of Alfresco types that should be excluded when publishing events in Alfresco ActiveMQ. Node aspects accepts the same patterns for aspect instead of type, and child assoc types includes a filtering list for child association. Additionally, events filtering can be specified for usernames, so you can exclude, for instance, all the events produced by the system Alfresco user. Node events types are generated when creating, updating, or deleting nodes. The payload of this kind of events includes no metadata, no content, and some other information like its file and its folder flags and the primary path of the node. There are different alternatives to consume these events from Java clients, using plain Java, extending base classes provided by the Alfresco Java SDK, using default Spring integration framework, or using additional frameworks like Apache Camel. When using Alfresco Java SDK, event handler templates are provided for every type, like the onNode created event handler that is listening to events produced when a node is created. You can build your business logic inside the handle event method, and additional filtering criteria can be coded in the get event filter method. Parent-child association events are generated when creating or deleting parent-child association. The payload of these kind of events includes the title of the association and the IDs of the associated resources. When using Alfresco Java SDK to consume these events, onChild event handler can be extended to code the business logic and to adapt the filtering criteria. Peer association event types are generated when creating or deleting source target association. The payload is including again the type of the association and the IDs of the associated resources. Once again, when using the Alfresco Java SDK to consume these events, onPeer event handler can be extended to code the business logic and to adapt the filtering criteria. Permission events type is only provided for ACS Enterprise and is generated when permissions are updated on a node. The payload of this kind of events includes the same as node events, but also the properties, resource reader authorities, and resource denied authorities, including the authority names list for the granted or rejected users or groups for a node. When using the Alfresco Java SDK to consume these events, onPermission updated event handler can be extended to code the business logic and to adapt the filtering criteria. Now that we understand all the different events produced by the Alfresco platforms, let's move to Alfresco Java SDK source code. Additional resources are available in the Alfresco Java SDK GitHub project, like the technical description for event handling or event filtering and the integration libraries. The Alfresco Java Event API model is described as a module of this SDK, including also technical details and JSON schemas for every message handled by the platform. Despite several integration options are available, we are creating in this video a Spring Boot starter project using plain Java handler. The goal is to lock a message when property title is changed on a folder or a document. But let's start creating a simple Maven project. So let's create a very simple Maven project, just using the group ID, our sample name for the first release, and with that package. Okay, now that we have the project, we can open that with IntelliJ IDEA in order to start coding our extension. So just waiting for the ID to get the project. Okay, that's fine. So we are not going to code this test part. We need some source folder with the application, that is fine. And we also need some resources folder in order to add the configuration. So the first thing we need to do is just to add different resources in our POM XML. Let's start removing that. We are not going to test the project. So the first thing is that we are going to use as default Spring Boot project. We are we are coding that with Java 11. So let's declare that also in our Maven. We are going to use the Spring Boot starter from the Alfresco API. So probably we need also access to the Maven provided by Alfresco. And in this case, we are going to use the Alfresco Java Event API Spring Boot starter with this 5.1.2 version, that is the latest one. And finally, we can add the plugins for the Spring Boot artifacts. So everything is just set up for our Maven project. A simple Maven reload in order to get all the dependencies, and we can move to the configuration of the application. So just the regular application properties file, and at this point we can include the broker URL endpoint. In this case, I'm running a local Docker Compose, default Docker Compose for ACS 7.1. So this should be the address of this ActiveMQ. And we have also some additional properties that we can expect. After that, we are creating a regular Spring Boot application. So just remove that. We want to create a Spring Boot application, and we need that specific main for the Spring Boot application. So yes, let me copy that. This is default main class. And now we are going to create our specific handler. So let's create a handler with the name title modified handler. And we can just copy some code. In this case, we are going to explain that. So we have a handler that is implementing the on-node update event handler. So we are going to react to nodes that have been updated in the platform. And we are adding some filter to that condition. That is the property change filter. This is a default filter provided by the platform, but you can also develop your own filters. In this case, we are using this filter based on a property change on that CM title property. On the business logic part, we are reading the event. Remember that this was the standard event, and on the data attribute, we have the resource that is including that information specific for Alfresco. So we have the node resource and the before node resource that is including the information that was present before the modification. So we have the name just only for login purposes, and we can get the previous title from that get properties is giving us that result, and the current title, that is the title that was after the change. And after that, we can just log this message in order to see what was happening there. So once we have the project, remember the POM file, the application properties in order to connect to the ActiveMQ, default Spring Boot application, and our handler extending this on-node update event handler that is being provided by the Alfresco Java SDK. We just can go again to the command line. We can build the package with a default Maven command, and as I'm having a running Alfresco repository, I can start this application with again default Java command. So once this is listening, the application has been started. We can go to the Alfresco content application, and we can just change the title of this folder, for instance, just to see if that has been this event is listened by our code, and we can see that our code has dumped this message. So we are getting that event, and we are generating the right business logic inside our event handler class. So with that, we code our first test for this Java SDK, and we are ready to move to things that can be a little bit complex. Alfresco PADES LTV is a sample project that is using both different approaches from the Alfresco Java SDK. The Event API, that in this case is used to listen to PDF documents created under a given Alfresco folder, and the REST API wrapper that, again, for this project, is used to get document content from repository and to update this content with a PADES LTV document. We are choosing this signature service, but you can use any service from your own for this integration. So the first thing should be to define our project. This is a regular Spring Boot project, but adding the dependencies for the REST API wrapper, also for the Event API, and some additional dependencies for the PADES LTV generation. Once we have our Maven project, again, we can go to the application properties, and we can see all the properties related with the Events API, the properties related with the REST API wrapper, and some additional information for the application and for the timestamp server. So for the application, we are defining that we want to watch that SART archive folder. So we are watching this folder, and only the documents, the PDF documents created in this folder, will be handled by our code. And this is something for the TSA, the timestamp authority, that is related with the PADES LTV generation. If we go to the main class, in our case, again, is a simple Spring Boot application, and our handler in this case is just extending the on-node create event handler. On the filtering part, we are using filters provided by default by the SDK, like the isFile or the MIME type filter, but you can also create your own filter. So in this case, we are creating this parent node filter that is reading the primary hierarchy from the data resource of the event. So we are just looking for an ID on that hierarchy. If that is true, then we are allowing that node to be handled by our method. So going back to the main handler, if this filter is true, so there is a node that has been created inside the folder we are watching, then we are applying some kind of business logic to that. We are getting the node resource from the event, again on the data attribute. We are then using the REST API wrapper in order to get the content for this node that we got from the event API, and we are updating this content with the signature, with the PADES LTV signature that we are computing with this PADES LTV service. We are also creating a major version, and we are adding some comment. So with that, we are able to listen to a folder, and we are able to create a new version of a document once this has been created. In order to compile that, yes, a regular Maven command. We have also Alfresco running locally on default port, and we can just start the our handler, our listener. So once that is ready, okay, now that the application is ready, we can go to that folder. We can go to that shared archive folder, and you can even create some subfolders inside, but anything that is under this shared archive folder will be used by the project we have already created. So yes, let's upload some simple some simple PDF file like this one. So the file is at this point, and we can see like our code has been filed. So a PDF content with the name has been created, and in the end we have created a new version of this file, but in this case is signed with that PADES LTB format. So if we can see that this version is version 2 and is including the comment we added to the version. And if we download this file, and if we open this file with Adobe, for instance, Adobe Reader, we can see that this is including the signature we were creating. So we have that signature in the document, and we are now able to perform this operation on every PDF that is being created on that folder. Remember that PADES LTB is something that is used in order to preserve the validity of that document through the years, and even in the future, if there is no more technology related to that, we are still able to validate that as a valid document on the time it was created. I hope that was helpful. We have reviewed that new Events API from the Alfresco Java SDK. We review a simple project just to start playing with that. And finally, we created a simple integration with that Alfresco PADES LTB project that is also using the REST API wrapper. Again, I hope that was useful, and we'll see on next videos. Bye.